So I wanted to show you guys how to make a rose. It's square stock. Take a hardy cutter like so and cut a handful of slits, not all the way through, say about halfway to 3/4 of the way. You don't want to go too deep, otherwise it'll break off later in the piece. But as you can see, I've cut the grooves and now I'm starting to flatten the piece to make the petals. Now that the piece has been majorly flattened, you can see that the cuts have started to pull up. So now I'm going to go through and cut them again. I still got a ways to go as far as like thinning it out, but you'll be able to finish that up with a ball peen to get the petal shape. So here we are a couple heats later. I realized that the hardy cut tool that I made more like a wedge. So these cuts are horrible, but I'm gonna make do with it and kind of fix that along the way. But as you can see, I'm taking the ball peen and hitting each one of these, and these are gonna become the petals. And the ball peen will dome this out. You just gotta hit it a couple hundred times and you'll have a nice little petal. Now as you hit this with the ball peen, it's gonna create a massive curve, which is kind of good, because then when I go to straighten it out, it'll close all those massive gaps I have between the petal, hopefully. But a couple more rounds hitting it with the ball peen, and then I'm going to straighten it out. We'll see how it looks then. Okay, now we have it semi-straight. Those gaps have kind of closed up, but since this is just a test piece, I'm not making this for show. I'm just going to go ahead. Now we take this part right here, bend it at a 90 degree, and then we fold everything up. Well, we roll everything up, and you'll see that. Now we've got a nice L shape out of it. That's why we straightened it up beforehand, was so that way it wasn't curving any willy wonky ways. But you want to make sure to get that corner nice and hot. And you want to use the anvil and hammer to bend it. Otherwise, it'll cold shut, it'll rip, it'll break. But now we just kind of roll this up. So I'll heat it up and start the roll. So here's the beginning of the roll. Folding it in on itself. Oh, that's really hot. Yeah, folding it in on itself. And then I'm just gonna roll all of these petals up until it's a single piece in the center. And then I'll tighten it up from there. I'll show you once it's finished rolled. Okay, now this is the start of the roll. Well, once it's all rolled up, you need to tighten it up and pull those petals out with some pliers. You could leave it like this. I don't really like it loose. So I'm gonna tighten it up some more. But I didn't say previously, make sure that the entire piece is hot when you're rolling it. Because the metal is gonna be so thin and you have these real sharp breaking points in here, where you could have cold shuts, you could have a whole bunch of stuff because you're cutting in the metal and closing it up, cutting in, closing it up. You want to make sure you're doing all of the final petal work as hot as you feel comfortable doing. So you want it to be a nice yellow heat. Okay, so there we go. That's pretty much finished. I mean, you can tidy it up with some pliers. You're gonna have to brush it off, straighten that head. You can put some twists in it. Put a point on it, and then there you go. This is my version of a rose or a tulip, just a pretty flower. And here's another example of another rose that I made with a twist in the handle and the end coming to a point. But here are the petals pulled out.